he's nothing like that at home. It's so interesting to see the dichotomy of his personalities. So I don't know, like we're really hands-on. We're really, we're very involved in everything. Like he coaches T-ball. I don't know. It's completely different. And the same thing for me. Like I love being a mom. I will read 50 stories to them at night and lay in bed with them and rub their backs and scratch their heads. Like it's interesting, like how you can be one way in your business and then completely different at home.
At Active Life, we believe that the healthcare clinic of the future is the gym.
Everybody starts with the best case scenario in mind.
Never sell anything to anybody who is not in the market for what you have.
The only reason we work out is to create the opportunity to recover.
And the healthcare provider of the future is the coach.
And this is why you guys need to get paid well, because what you're doing is really, really hard work.
Alicia and George McKenzie, welcome to the Active Life podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
It's my pleasure. I think I'd have to go back in time, and I'm probably wrong about this and someone's going to yell at me, but I think you're the first married couple I've had on the podcast together. I've had husband and wife on separately, but I don't know that I've ever had husband and wife on together. So,
hey, awesome. Breaking barriers all over the place.
That's it. Just knocking down walls. That's it. So I talked about it a little bit in the intro. What I would really like to start by asking you to is just kind of dive straight into it. You've been successful by any measure in your relationship, in your businesses, and you've done a lot of that work together. Selfishly, I want to know, because my wife just worked her last day and we're trying to figure out what she wants to do when she grows up now. What is the most difficult thing about being successful in a relationship and a business at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's probably the only relationship in which you get to choose your partner, 24 hours a day. So, on the business side of the house, I think the most difficult side is when you draw that cutoff, right? And how do you have those business conversations and taskings and making sure that you're both doing what's right for the company and all your employees and for your clients, and then also be able to balance the interpersonal relationship between husband and wife, mom and dad, and keep those things, I guess on even playing fields. Obviously it's not exactly even, because the marriage always takes precedence, right? You don't want to have a business relationship that becomes toxic for your personal relationship, and making sure that as you go through the day-to-day challenges and taskings and, hey, did you not do that? Why didn't you do that? And, hey, we have to do this. Do you understand the bill has to be paid and stuff like that? How do you make those, conversations, but not make them personal? That way, that you can have that conversation and you can, maybe argue about what the best path forward is for the business, but not be in argument with your spouse. And that's extremely difficult, because I'm sure
so difficult, because I will just say, like, you're not my boss right now, and I will get up and walk away. It's difficult to just kind of switch between those roles. But I think we do a good job. I mean, like, we're showering and we're having like deep business conversations in the shower, but then we're also showering and not having those deep conversations in the shower. So I think it's just figuring out the right time and place when you need to talk about different things and just, I don't know, flowing with those roles. There's a lot of ebb and flow.
Do you have a clear way to describe that this is a boundary and I need you to stop right now? And I'll give you some clarity on that. So let's say you're in the shower. I'm assuming at least 2 shower heads. I mean, my wife and I shared 1 shower head. We're redoing our house right now. And the biggest reason was, I'm like, I like taking a shower with you, but not with 1 shower head, because I'm cold right now. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But so if in the shower, like, if we're in a relaxing conversation, then all of a sudden a business conversation comes up, or I'd like us to go and do this conversation comes up. Right now, we don't work together. So it's easy. It's, oh yeah, well, okay, you want to go to that place? Well, let's talk about going to that place. If it came up where I had a stressful day at the office for whatever reason, and I didn't want to vocalize it when I was home, and she starts talking about it, I don't know what I would say to be like, you know what? I don't really want to have this conversation right now.
I think we're really good at reading each other. Like I can tell when he's stressed. I can just see it all over his face, and he doesn't think so. But like I know what to avoid, and I think it's the same thing like for me. He can definitely tell when I've had a good day and I'm just like chattering it off like it just nonstop, and like he'll ask me about it, he'll do whatever, but he can tell when I've had a bad day too, and we just kind of avoid the subject. So I think it's just that we've been together for so long that we can just read each other's emotions, body language. Like I can tell when his jaw's clenched and all that stuff. So I think that just comes with time.
How long have you been together?
13.
Yeah, almost
13. We've 14. Been married for almost 10.
14 years or so. Yeah, so, I think it's a game of ping pong, and then sometimes you gotta see how the ball's coming back at you. Like for me, I'm sure I don't know how to read myself externally, so I can't comment on that. But with her, it's more of like, sometimes it's a great day, and sometimes it's that ping pong. It's like watching Olympic level Chinese people playing, right? And it's just conversation back and forth, and everybody's happy, and we're brainstorming, and things are morphing, and then you're just constantly spinning the ball. And then sometimes it's a bunch of lob shots, and you feel like you're just running corner to corner to try to get them, and you're like, all right, maybe we need to slow this down and turn the conversation to something else. Mm-hmm. I think you just get you get that routine. I think it's that way with anything. Like even in my other company outside of you just develop those relationships with people, and you understand that, hey, this is where you have to steer the conversation. You can only beat a dead horse so long, right? You get to a point where, hey, we had this conversation all day and on this work related topic, and we can't seem to get to ground on it. And then eventually, you got to start talking about something else, or you let that conversation die and you say, hey, let's go do something together. And then sometimes that's when you get probably the most meaningful conversations, even work related.
When you're not doing something work related, you're saying? Yeah,
exactly. Like we'll play golf together, or we'll just go for a walk in the afternoons. And sometimes you find yourself, talking about trees or birds. And then all of a sudden, you get back into the work thing, but it's in a, less stressful environment, and you just talk it out.
I played golf on Sunday this week for the first time in 12 years.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, I one ball. I only used one ball, which was a win.
That is a win.
I bought 12 balls, and I considered buying 24 because I thought it was gonna be that kind of a day. I was borrowing someone else's clubs. I was playing in sneakers. I had nothing. I was just like, yeah, I'll go. My brother-in-law invited me to play, and I ended up there was one ball in the bag. I never even opened the balls that I bought.
That's awesome. That's a win. I'm telling you,
it's a win. I shot a 108, so it wasn't like I was scratch golfing. I shot a 108, but we didn't lose the ball.
Yeah. Hey. It's fun, and I think it's 3.5 to 4 hours of opportunities for conversations.
Yeah. So something that I am always interested in is neither one of you come across to me, and forgive me, I know more about Alicia than I know about you, George. Neither one of you come across to me as a passive, submissive, just okay, I'm just along for the ride kind of person. You both strike me as I'm going to do my thing, entrepreneurial, enterprising, whether you're looking to build a huge business or just get after your golf game. Where is the balancing act there? Do you guys find that there's like I have to let this person win this one? Or you follow what I'm getting at there?
Yeah, no, I think we're ultra competitive. I mean, to a fault, I think to that degree, we think about it, at least we're cognizant of it, and we understand the competitiveness where we're like, hey, do we want our kids to be as competitive as we are? We're worried about, in life, is that going to be a downside, even though it's been beneficial to us? But yeah, I mean, even though, at this point in my life, she is the better athlete, and she probably has been for a decade or so.
I was going to say, she probably was when you met too.
Yeah. I am better at golf though. So there's a couple things. For now.
I can still outdrive him.
Sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, from the ladies.
Hey.
I see. So as long I got you. So she ends up further forward.
Right. So, I mean, it's give and take competitiveness. I don't know if we compete in life. I think we're on the same team. So it's, And you can't have a bunch of, the baseball team can't have 3 pitchers, right? So it's, we have to know which position we're playing for the team, but we can all throw the ball, right? So, and then I think when we work out in the gym still, sometimes we'll go out in the garage and it's, you start doing wall balls and it's, you're doing a set of 30 and then you plan to take a break, but she doesn't put it down. I'm not putting it down. Right.
And then neither one of us can walk.
Yeah, exactly. And then now you're doing, 3 or 4 sets of 30 unbroken and you're just like, I'm not dropping it. She's not dropping it. So we're just going to go.
Well, how does that work with the kids? Because what do you have? 4 kids? Is it 3 or 4? Yeah.
They're little clones
of you two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I more mean there is, in my relationship at home, my wife is very mothering. I'm like, I love my kids to death for an hour and a half a day. I really do. Like, I love them and I would do anything for them. I want to be really present when I'm with them. And I find that like after 80, 90, 100 minutes, I'm just like, all right, like I got nothing for you, kid. I love you. I got to go for a walk or something. I don't know if you two feel similarly. And I don't know if I'm conflating my personality with entrepreneurship and my wife's with mothering because she's not entrepreneurial. And then assuming that you guys are both feeling the way that I do all the time, I'm just curious how that works in your house.
It's so strange. It's like he has multiple personalities. I'll just use this morning as an example. The kids woke up super early. It was before 6 a.m. They were both up. And they went downstairs, they turned on the TV, and I was going to change and go downstairs. I laid back down and I fell asleep. Like, that never happens. I slept until it was after 8 when I finally woke up. He was already out of bed downstairs. He had made them breakfast. He had gotten them all set up. And when I came downstairs, like, they were doing marble races and like he'd like taken full charge and let me sleep. So like, he's probably one of the best dads and like the most hands-on dad that like I've just ever encountered. And like, I don't know what I did or what changed. Like I really never expected it. Like we always knew we wanted to have kids, and he's always worn like this hardcore CEO hat and everybody sees him and he's this persona and he's intimidating, and he doesn't think so, but people are intimidated by him. And, he's nothing like that at home. It's so interesting to see the dichotomy of his personalities. So I don't know, like we're really hands-on. We're really, we're very involved in everything. Like he coaches T-ball. I don't know. It's completely different. And the same thing for me. Like I love being a mom. I will read 50 stories to them at night and lay in bed with them and rub their backs and scratch their heads. Like it's interesting, like how you can be one way in your business and then completely different at home.
And how old are your kids? I'm sorry to interrupt you. How old are they?
Almost 15, 9, almost 6, and almost 4.
So when the 15 and 9-year-old were younger, you were in the thick of the cybersecurity company, yes?
Yes.
In my first one, yeah. And then we were also running a CrossFit gym, and she was competing.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, Alicia was snatching 200 pounds before it was a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So was it as easy for you to provide that space and the energy for the kids when they were younger, when you were in the thick of your businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's just making that time and, understanding that, when we were working out in the gym, right, the kids, would run around and be engaged with us, but it wasn't, you didn't get full time and attention, right? It takes a village. So her mom was always in the gym and is with us. And then we had, all the other people in the gym that would help out. But I think making it a priority for me, it's pretty easy. And then when it's work time, they understand that I have to work and that we're on family vacations or we're outside at the pool or we're doing whatever. A phone call comes in, daddy has to take the call, and I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I think that's always been the case, and they kind of understand that.
Right. And Alicia, earlier you mentioned that you find that other people find George to be intimidating and he doesn't see the same thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can tell just looking at you right now, there's some muscles underneath that white shirt you got on. Is it the physical presence that George carries, or is it more of the energy that he brings with him?
I think it's it's all of the above. Like you kind of, you see him and he doesn't smile.
I don't think that's the case. I think I'm very approachable. I don't understand.
He's not. It's so funny. Like, I don't know. I love watching him interact, like, in his environment. Like, I'll play the wife role and I'll just kind of sit to the side and, like, let him do his thing. And it's like, damn, like, just watching him from afar, I'm like, okay, I'd hit that.
4 times.
Yeah, apparently. No, but yeah, he's a completely different person outside of this house. And yeah, worked in his favor.
Yeah, I think kids, for me, they just, somehow they have that innate ability to, make you melt in an instant, right? And then it's hard to, hey, I'm in this, keep this CEO persona or keep this, husband persona or disciplinarian or whatever you try to do when they come in. But, I enjoy it. But I think to your point, like there are times I mean, it's like she's way better at that whole, hey, let's read 50 stories. Like I get one story and
yes,
I'm ready to move on.
Yes.
Right. And when they've had a long day, especially my sons, they have a long day and then they get, like she says, they have big emotions at night, and that's where I think I have a problem. I don't know if it's a male thing or what, but you're like, I can't just keep asking you 6 times to do something. And then, then the tears start or I'm not doing it start. And then it's kind of that yin yang.
It's that tag off.
Yeah. She'll take over and she can get them bathed. Like we bathe them together every night and we brush their teeth and, most nights it's easy and, routine, everything just works. And then when it's, past their expiration, the expiration date goes off and then they're like, oh, nope, I'm not getting undressed. I'm not showering. I'm not bathing. And it's like the 15 minutes to get them to brush their teeth. And then I'm like, I'm out.
Right. You're like, I can get you to brush your teeth. You're just it's not going to be comfortable for anybody.
Yes. And that's kind of where I don't know. I'm very good at getting down on their level and they listen to mommy. Like, they'll just do it. They'll do whatever I ask. And they're so sweet.
I find that really interesting because one of the things that I've described to my wife is I'm more than happy to put the kids down to bed. They just don't want me to. They prefer you to. So when you do it, I understand that it takes longer for you. When I do it, it doesn't take less time. It's just them yelling at me while I'm trying to do it. And I'm like, why don't you just put them to bed? I'll continue to cook. I'll continue to do the other things. And you just, you just do the bed thing. So our middle child is starting to come around. She actually is asking for me. And I'm like, this is great. I really enjoy putting you to bed. It's not a fist fight. But so I follow you there, George. It's like, look, this is the end of it's enjoyable. So now mom's going to come and do it because she's more patient than I am. At least that's how it goes in our house.
Yeah. And then they're good. So most of the time it's not an issue. It's just whenever they're overly tired. But my daughter, she's 9, the second daughter. And we had a routine since she was like 3. I carry her to bed every night.
It's so gross. Like
she comes down and just time to go to bed.
It'll make you vomit. She'll come over and she'll just stand in front of him, put her arms out and she'll be like, I'm ready for bed. And he'll swoop her up and carry her up the stairs and put her to bed. Like, it's like, it's so sweet. Like it makes your teeth hurt.
Yeah. Just I know it's coming to an end one day, right? So you're just like, savor these last few. She's 9. I can't imagine it lasting much longer.
You don't know. She might like go out for her 17th birthday, come home and you're sleeping and she's just tapping you on the shoulder. Right. Yeah. And she just puts her arms up and you're like, all right, it's 3 a.m., but I guess I'll get up and carry you to bed. So one of the way that we really got connected is Alicia made a post that I don't remember verbatim what it said. I probably should have looked it up before I started this interview today. It was the idea of, remember, she's a mom before she's your employee. And Sheila, who manages, I call Sheila my work mom because she manages my entire schedule, my life. Like she puts the coffee breaks on the schedule. She reminds me to eat lunch. Like that's what she does. She reposted it. And she was talking about how grateful she was that she works at a company where her leadership sees her as a mom first and as an employee second. And I really want to dig into how you two do that in your businesses with your staff. And I'm frankly less interested in how you did it towards the end of your last business, George. when you guys were getting ready for a purchase and an exit. I'm more interested in how you did it when you were in a similar phase to us, which was the fairly early startup of the business. And you need all of the energy from all of the people to help get this thing moving. And at the same time, you want to respect the family values. How did you do that early on?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about, so at my previous company, so I have a startup now, a cybersecurity company that
Perfect.
We're kind of doing the same thing. But yeah, I agree. I think, one, it's the diversity aspect, right? Of having mothers and having people that have had different, views of life. And then they're probably even have a different view of life than you do today. Like you were saying that, mothers have priorities, right? They're normally the ones that have to go to the doctors and they have to take care of the screaming children in the background when they're working from home and those types of things. But it's really creating a culture where you value outcomes, right? And not hours. So I think that's kind of what we're doing in the new company that I have, and even in the old company where, we've moved to unlimited PTO and making it more of, hey, we're worried about you producing outcomes for the clients that we're working with, and then for the company that, hey, we're all in this boat together, right? We need every oar in the water, and we got to be rowing this direction. And whether you're rowing at a 10 or a 7, or you pull your oar out of the water for a little bit, and the rest of us continue to row, that's fine, as long as we're always going that way. What we don't want is people with their oar in the water not rowing or rowing the wrong way, right? So, and I think it's, if you create that culture where people feel valued for their skill set and the outcomes that they're delivering. And for me personally, like some of the best project managers and coordinators and people that helped create the flow of the business and make sure that, we're doing things, in a sequential way and multitasking have been mothers. I think that skill set transfers a lot, especially in IT, where a lot of us and, a lot of the employees are single guys that, do 1,000 things and chase 1,000 squirrels, but never actually catch or finish anything. So it's kind of getting that more of that motherly experience of, settling down, focusing, doing something. But it's definitely a culture that you have to build it from the top down, that, everybody takes time off and everybody has the ability to do things that are required in life first and then work second.
And Alicia, I imagine that you're talking to a lot of the moms.
I think their mothers multitask and plan and schedule and coordinate like none other, because we have to. Like, they're some of the most organized people that I've ever worked with. And I'm heavily involved in a company called Hey Mama, and it's a networking organization for mothers full of entrepreneurs, doctors, and they started the Motherhood on the Resume kind of project, which is, I think, the post you're talking about. And it's basically teaching moms who are trying to re-enter the workforce how to translate their motherly skills into a resume line item. Right. So let's take potty training, for example. It's research. It's setting a timeline. It's reevaluating something if it doesn't work. It's not just potty training. So I think just trying to put that out there and say, like, moms, you're not useless. You're not just a mother. You are so much more, and you belong in the workforce if that's where you want to be. And
I'm finding that analogy you just made so interesting, the potty training one, because it's also patience. It's personal responsibility, because it doesn't always go right, and there's some cleanup to be done there. Yeah. And I mean, I remember the one time our 4-year-old, who's now 4 years old, was an infant, and our 6-year-old was a 2-year-old, and the infant was laying on the ground. She couldn't move. She was an infant, and the 2-year-old was squatting down in potty training and just like, playing with her and all this. And she got up and walked away, and there was a big dump on the floor right next to our infant. We're like, oh, we didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
But so, the interesting thing about what you're describing there is I never thought of it as a job skill. And you're right, it is one. It's just explaining it in a way where somebody will understand that it is.
Exactly.
Sorry, go on.
Another big one that really just drives it home for me is coordinating the holidays. if you have multiple children and you're trying to go somewhere, coordinating all of that and making sure people get where they need to be on time, making sure they're fed, making sure they're everything. It's logistics, it's planning, it's budgeting, it's all of that wrapped into motherhood.
And so when you say motherhood on the resume, do you mean that in a literal way?
Oh yeah.
So George, have you ever gotten a resume from a mom who put motherhood on the resume?
I have not. I wish they would. I think that's something extremely valuable, and things that, like you're talking about, the transferability of those skills when written out, and also from a mother's perspective of having that confidence and that, brag, being able to brag about yourself, that what you did as a mother and the skills that you learned and the ability to adapt and overcome and plan and then replan and rebaseline expectations and all of those things that have to happen, being able to put that on your resume and articulate that to a hiring manager, I think would speak volumes. And if the hiring manager doesn't see that translation, then you probably shouldn't be working there anyway.
Are there barriers? I agree with you, but are there barriers that an employer or a hiring manager has to be careful of to avoid asking a mom questions that almost seem discriminatory, even though the intent is, no, I want to understand how you plan motherhood. I want to understand how motherhood is a part of your being. I'm picturing myself right now. The reason I'm asking this is selfish. I'm picturing myself interviewing somebody who's a mom and who doesn't have a ton of job experience in our specific space. And me just prying about the way that she mothers and having her be like, why is this guy asking all these questions about me as a mom? And thinking that like, oh, I'm not going to get hired because I'm a mom. How that seems like a line.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd have to be careful as the employer, but if the way I would view it is if the applicant or the mother had it on their resume, just like any other job, and put in, line items and bulleted of what they accomplished and how, and you're asking questions about it. You're like, oh, you have logistics on your resume. Can you explain, a situation in which you had to use that skill set to accomplish a task and then I think the bigger problem, and from an interviewer, having done this several times, is when there's a big gap on the resume, right? And you're like, hey, you had a job in 2008, and then you had another job in 2016. What was that 8-year gap? Which is a more uncomfortable conversation because you kind of know it. You think you know what it is, but you can't ask. And then they feel defensive because they're like, oh, well, I was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years. And then you can see sometimes I've seen like that they feel now defensive, and then they're on the retreat about, I have to explain that I didn't work for 8 years and that I am still valuable in the workplace. And my skills haven't diminished over those 8 years.
And is the way that I'm sorry, go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, which is why I think what Hey Mama is trying to do, they're trying to get these mothers to actually put motherhood on their resume. Mm-hmm. So if you have that 8-year gap and you can articulate what you were doing in those 8 years, hey, I potty trained. Hey, I planned all of this. Hey, I did the budget for our entire household. Hey, I did this. And if you can put that on paper and actually speak to it to a hiring manager, there's value there.
There's a ton of value there. I think that it also, one of the things that I find uniquely interesting is when people need to be let go from a company. I don't see it as you're a bad person who did a bad thing, so you need to go. I see it as our values and your values don't align for whatever reason. And so asking you to stay here would be inconsiderate of us as a company to ask of you. I can see a potential problem for moms who put motherhood on the resume in that not every company is going to have the open-mindedness to value that in the way that perhaps they could or should. And I can see a mom being angry that she didn't get hired for a job that she may have been great for because the company didn't value the motherhood. But I think that'd be the wrong company for the mom. And she just got to find out earlier. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's 100%. Yeah. That, either way, if you have it on the resume, you at least can talk to it and explain your skill set. If you don't have it on the resume, it's a hole that you're going to have to address more defensively. But at the end, if they don't value that experience that you're bringing, and it's I think you hit the nail on the head. When letting someone go is terrible. It's always a bad. I mean, I've had to do it. We, at running companies, and we grew to, 400 and some employees at the first company, and to get that big, you let some people go at some point. And most of the time, that when you let someone go, you find what you said is true, is that it's just a mismatch, right? That either we weren't set up correctly for you to be successful, and the things that you needed to be successful, we weren't able to give you, or vice versa. The things that we needed from you to be successful, you may not have been bringing to the table. And, it's never, you're at fault. We're at fault. It's always, we came to this together, that, either somewhere we let each other down. And I think that from an employee perspective, if the mother is interviewing, they got to realize that too, that the company you're going to work for, you want the job, and you probably are perfect for the job, and you bring a set of skills and experiences and unique, view of how you would do this job. And they probably have the flip side of that, of how they want the job done and what they want on that end. And sometimes it's a mismatch, and you wouldn't want that job if, they were looking for, a square peg and you're a round peg, right? That you could try to jam it in there and see what happens, but the outcome is probably not going to be good.
Yeah, it's more you think you want that job. If they said this is the job, and by the way, this is how we think, you might be like, I'm not even going to apply for that job. That's not where I want to be. So, Alicia, what I want to ask you about, and then I want to get into Lift Like a Mother in a second, because you don't just help women get their name on their motherhood on the resume. You also help them get their life in order. What I want to ask you before I get to the getting their life in order part is, how do we help, or how do you help the moms keep boundaries for, look, we want you to be a mom first. You got to be a well-organized mom. You don't get to just call up and say, I can't come in today because my kid has a thing and I forgot about it. You don't get to come in late because, I got stuck in traffic taking my kid to school. It's like you do need to still be a high-level quality employee. Where does the line of personal responsibility come in, and how do you express it to women?
Honestly, it's been trial and error for me. I've definitely worked with a couple of people that have not worked out because they just weren't planners, but I don't think that's them as a mother. I think that's just them as a person. So I think when you're talking to people, when you're interviewing whether or not you want to work with them, it's going to be like, how do you coordinate your days? How do you schedule? Are you organized? Are you detail oriented? Which I hate using all those buzzwords, but it's true. I think as a mother, or even as an employee and employer, you have to figure out how to organize and prioritize your time. So if that means that, let's just take my daily schedule. I'm incredibly time blocked. Like I time block everything unless I oversleep, but, which doesn't happen often, but, it's just looking at your schedule for the week, figuring out what you need to do, placing it on that weekly calendar, and then knowing when to shut it off. Like there will be some nights where I'm working on my computer until 10 o'clock at night, but I'm not answering email. I'm doing stuff to catch up or get ahead. Right. So I think it's, as an employer, you have to be respectful of your employees' boundaries. And that means not sending emails at 10 o'clock at night and not expecting them to work on a weekends, and just, you set your boundaries and you stick within them.
Is it not sending those emails, or is it creating the precedent with your employees that they don't have to respond to those emails?
Not sending them.
Oh man, I sent an email at midnight last night.
And I think for me personally, and I actually just did a post about this, it's nobody's going to ignore their boss over the weekend.
Right.
And I get that is the idea that you have in your mind. Oh, I don't expect a response.
That's okay. You got kids. It's okay that they're in the background.
Hey, excuse me. Good sir. What's the problem? Can we share that until we get done, and we'll go find yours, Maddox. Okay? I need you to go that way. Thank you.
There you go. Crisis management.
Exactly.
I don't know if I told you, if we had a boy, it was going to be Maddox.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got Maddox and Maverick.
Nice. We didn't have a boy. We had 3 girls.
Oh, okay. That's Stormtrooper. Sorry. Anyways, yeah. Nobody is going to ignore their boss, whether or not you expect them to. Mm-hmm. So it's, don't send the email, utilize, sending. So if you need to type it up, set it to send at 8 a.m. Monday morning.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. The email scheduling is a good one. She does it. I'm not so great at that either. Yeah. And I think back to the question, just if I could chime in, even though it wasn't directed at me, I think it's it's telling mothers and even guys, it's not any different, right? That guys have the same excuses or have the same challenges when it comes to time management. Oh, I'm late because there was traffic this morning, or, and I think that you have to understand at some point the personal responsibility, one, but the other is time is extremely valuable. And it's the only thing outside of family, love, and, community that is valuable. And if you have to value your time just like someone else's time. So if you're running late constantly, you got to reevaluate how you're spending your time. Like, how am I spending my time in my mornings? Am I, doing something that's causing me not to leave the house on time? Or am I not putting things on the calendar, which cause me to lose control of my time during the day? And then, like to your point, I'm calling up the employer and saying, hey, I'm coming in late today because I forgot about so-and-so's dentist appointment, right? Mm-hmm. And then now, did you waste 4 hours of that person's time, which is extremely valuable? It's like, would you, waste someone's, a couple $100s of someone's money just because you forgot? If you start to, I think, looking at time as a valuable resource and not an unlimited resource, I think will help frame out people. And I think it's even the health and wellness, the adage, right? If you don't make time for your health, you're going to
be forced to make time for your sickness.
Yeah. Right? It's the same. Time is incredibly valuable. And if you're not using it correctly, it's just like money. If you're not applying that in the right place, then you're going to pay for it.
So let's make this shift to health and wellness, because Lift Like a Mother is your company, Alicia. And in that company, you're effectively helping mothers, right, to get all of the things that they need to do to live healthy lives in order. And I would love for you to explain to me what makes that different for a mom than it would for a non-mom.
I think it's the guilt factor. Women seem to feel guilty for taking time for themselves away from their children. But I think we really need to normalize that in order for you to be a really, really good mom, you have to take care of yourself first. If you are tired, if you're run down, if you're hungry, if you're sick, you are not going to be the best mother that you could possibly be. But if you are taking 30 minutes 3 times a day and throwing in some walks, then you're naturally going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better wife. You're going to feel better about yourself, which is going to make you a better you. So I think it's really important to just normalize that it's okay to not be around your kids 24/7.
Do you provide strategies for the moms to, like, what do you do with your kids when you're not with them?
Absolutely. I'll take one of my clients, for example. She came to me never working out, despised working out. And we started with 5 minutes a day every morning as soon as she got up. Mm-hmm. And we scheduled 2 dedicated walks a week. And that was how that was how she did her fitness for the first week. The second week, we made it 3 walks and 5 minutes a day in the morning. And she worked out with her spouse that, okay, this is when I'm going to do my walks. You stay with the kids and I'll be back. And then that slowly graduated to, she got a set of dumbbells and now she does 3 30-minute workouts while the kids are eating lunch. She's in plain sight of them. And then she does 2 walks a week, and she's gradually lost weight, even though that wasn't our focus. She feels better about herself. She feels stronger.
Don't worry about the kids. Your company's called Lift Like a Mother. If I'm going to be strict about, like, hey, I need those kids quiet in the background, we got a problem.
It's making sure nobody's screaming. or like bloody murder or something. Yeah, but I think it's just teaching them how it doesn't have to be 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Like more is not always more.
And I think that's interesting, the guilt factor, because I don't know that I'd considered the guilt factor. You know, sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
Yeah, no, that's like a common thing. Like with every mom, it's like, oh, I feel guilty for leaving my children. Like, good God, why? It's stop that. Like the guilt does nobody any good. And I think, but it's any mom. I don't know where it comes from, but even myself, like I find myself, like if George and I will go on a trip together, I feel guilty because I miss my kids. So I think it's just innately built into us.
Maybe. I don't know that I'd feel guilty on that trip. My wife might. I don't know that I would. So when we were talking before the show started, you described to me that it's more than nutrition. It's more than exercise. There's lifestyle built into it. And what you're talking about right now kind of sounds like that. It's the idea of, I don't care if you work out every day. I want you to become the kind of person who just would move. Like start to associate yourself as the kind of person who does this. And the way I've talked to our clients in the past about this is kosher Jews don't try to avoid shellfish. You know, Muslims don't try to avoid liquor. It's just things that they're in their life. And they associate as somebody who wouldn't do those things. So if you just associate as somebody who, I always move for 5 minutes a day, it becomes easier for you to start to move more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you get resistance with that?
No.
Really?
Not when we start with it. I keep it so simple that it's hard to resist.
Do you think that part of that is because of the way that you hold the frame? Because I imagine that somebody coming into a call with you, it doesn't seem like a lot of room for negotiation.
No, there's not.
But
No, I think I've done a pretty good job at meeting people at their level, and it's easier to read what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do because I lay it out so simply.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go back to what I just said because I want to make sure I'm clear about it. I don't think that I would want to negotiate it. You give the vibe of I'm educated, I'm competent, and I'm confident. So if you trust me enough to work with me, I'm just going to give you what it is that you're asking for in a way that you may not ask for it, and it's going to work. And I'd just be okay, I believe you, and I don't want to challenge you on that anyway.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And do you write workouts for them? Do you write their nutrition? How comprehensive is what you're doing?
I write the workouts. I help them schedule their days. They do daily check-ins. We talk about sleep. We talk about mood. We talk about stress levels. We talk about cycles, digestion, mindset. How do you feel with your relationship, or how do you feel about your relationship with food this past week? I try to get people out of the habit of like cutting complete food groups. So I don't necessarily I don't do meal plans or anything like that because I'm not an RD. I do a lot of work with Renaissance periodization. So like I will always point them in the direction of Renaissance periodization if they need like a full blown template. Mm-hmm. I am always there to handhold. So I help people integrate that into their life. Like, how do you meal prep? What's the best way to get that done?
It's all good. It's good.
We have all kinds of creatures.
Hold on 1 second, Sean.
No problem. So while I'm holding on for her, George, I have a question for you.
Go. Shoot.
Do you ever find that the things that she's solving for her clients lead to issues where she's asking you questions about their relationships with their husbands?
I don't think she crosses that over with like clients into that, but I definitely, I think it helps because I think as she's advising people and talking about, hey, what's your relationship with food? And then how's your day? And then, when stressful situations come up, it can be like, oh, well, how would you have handled that situation?
So I don't know that she needs to cross the how's your marriage boundary because if she tells a woman, for example, you need to make time for yourself and here are opportunities for you to do it. If the husband's not supportive of her making that time for herself, I'll ask her when she comes back, I feel like there needs to be a conversation around how do we help them become supportive for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've had some of those. It's always interesting, right? That if someone is on the health and wellness journey, and it's a journey, right? And it's not a destination. It's a journey, and you're going to be doing it forever. Kind of like what you're talking about, the false peaks, right? That in that health and wellness journey, there's a lot of false peaks. We're like, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds. Yeah, I did that. Okay, well, now I want to do this.
Right.
And I think if you try to do it alone, just like most things, it's going to be challenging. And if you have a partner, especially a spouse, that's not supportive and on that journey with you, it's challenging. And for me, trying to give advice when she asks is have that honest conversation. And I think a lot of times people, maybe women, maybe men, but it's having those honest conversations and being open and vulnerable that, I'm on this journey and it's difficult. And I want you to be on it with me, or at least be supportive in it. And it's important to me, and it's important to me for these reasons. And it should be important to you too, right? That we're on this life journey together. And if we're not both at least supportive of each other and understanding of why, the motivation behind it, and I think having those honest conversations with your spouse, and if you're not getting the response that you want from that, I don't know if you need to go seek outside counseling, but I think you definitely have to be open and talk about it. And I think a lot of times we get in the work mode of life, and I think maybe to full circle it back to the beginning, right? You get in that work mode, and how do you turn the work mode off and have the vulnerable, like, hey, I'm a human being, and you are as well, and we're on this life journey together, and I have needs, you have needs, we both have wants, desires, wishes, and how do we honestly express those to each other and be vulnerable to know that, hey, I need help in this area, and I need you to help me. And I think if we did that more, then you get more positive responses back. So, unless people are complete assholes, which sometimes they are, but most of the time, you married this person because you want to be with them, and you love and respect them, and you want to help. And when they say, hey, I'm on this journey for XYZ, I need help in this, that, or the other, that you get you would get a positive response out of it.
So Alicia, the way that we got into talking about that was I asked if you ever find yourself needing to cross where someone doesn't do something because of their relationship with their significant other, who doesn't support what they're trying to do. Before I get into anything further with you, I know that you do time block your schedule, and we're bumping up against the end of the time that I asked you for. And I want to make sure that if you have a hard stop, we can make sure to wrap it in time.
Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what that look. She just gave you a look. I'm not sure what it was, but it's all good. I'm not sure who the intimidating one is over there.
Exactly.
I'm not sure she has it right. But so I want to hear a little bit before we wrap up about the nonprofit that you do work with as well. So can you tell me about Amplify Health and Wellness?
Yeah, Amplify Health and Wellness. We're basically on a mission to provide quality access to nutrition, fitness, wellness to underserved and underrepresented communities, and anybody who wants it, basically. So if you're low income, if you're a military family and you move around a lot, if you're a frontline worker, we do everything from, we're actually hopping into a 12-week program right now where, similar to Lift Like a Mother coaching, we're basically teaching people how to have a quality, or how to add quality to their lifestyle for, on whatever budget they're working with. And then we also do marketing and business coaching for fitness professionals or wellness professionals, mental wellness professionals. Let's say if you're trying to start a business and you have no idea where to even begin. I have a really solid team in my community manager and in one of my board members. And we basically handhold people for 8 weeks and give them action items and quantitative steps to creating a new business.
And can people pay for that if they don't qualify for the under?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I always said that I never set out to make money. Lift Like a Mother, the for-profit side just kind of happened, and I do it because I love it. And the nonprofit, like it just, I don't know, it fills some little void in my life. And like, we truly love what we do. Like we love meeting new people. We love supporting the community, community workouts. It's just, I don't know.
Look, some people who pay attention, and people who can't afford to pay, there are other ways to help them pay attention.
Absolutely. And we have strong partnerships in the companies that support us. So
I believe that. Where can people find out more about you two if they want to?
George is a ghost. You're not going to find anything about him.
Perfect. Where are they going to find you?
You can find me at Lift Like a Mother everywhere on social media, www.liftlikeamother.com or www.amplifyhealthandwellness.org.
Awesome. George, Alicia, I appreciate you joining me on the show today.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for having us, Sean.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please be sure to head to wherever you listened to it and give us a quality review, as well as 5 stars if you can spare them. If you want more from us, feel free to follow all of our social media accounts at Active Life Professional, Active Life RX, and Dr. Sean Pastuch on Instagram. Remember, at Active Life, we believe that the healthcare clinic of the future is the gym, and the healthcare provider of the future is the coach. We also believe that future is now. Turn it up.